Welcome back to my channel. Why do people mask suicidal thoughts? If you're new to the channel, you're wondering why do I have these masks on? Well, let's define mask. According to Webster, mask is to hide, to conceal, or to disguise. So I'm only using these masks as an illustration or to represent what we do when we are struggling with our mental health and we are struggling with depression, suicidal thoughts, anxiety, and we mask our true feelings and we suffer in silence because oftentimes we feel ashamed or feel that we'll be ostracized. And because the stigma that is associated with mental health, mental illness, and suicide is often stigmatized and a taboo subject, so we tend to keep our true feelings inside. But it is my goal to empower you, to use my own testimony so we can begin to tear down the stigma and learn to reach out when we are struggling with our mental health to positive friends and family, to learn to reach out to the specialists that are trained to help with your behavior problem that you're having with your mental health, which are a licensed psychologist, a licensed psychiatrist, a licensed therapist, a licensed counselor. They are all trained to provide you with an evaluation so they can properly diagnose your mental health condition and provide you with tools and a roadmap to help you get back mentally stable and to help you learn to cope with your mental health. The month of May is observed for mental health awareness. So I have been coming on doing videos about what is mental health and what is the importance of mental health. In my opinion, your mental health should be acknowledged every day because without your mental health being stable, it is impossible for us to function properly. So it's imperative for us to take our mental health more seriously, just as though you take your physical health, your mental health also, because if your mental health is in jeopardy and it is compromised and it's not healthy, it can impact your physical health as well. I wanted to discuss today suicide grief. Today is Mother's Day, and I want to celebrate all the mothers out there. But today, I know that there are some mothers out there that are struggling because they have lost their children, loved ones to suicide. So suicide grief, a loved one's suicide can be emotional, devastating. Learning to use healthy coping strategies such as seeking support to begin the journey to healing and acceptance. So the seeking support meaning you can reach out to the licensed psychiatrist, licensed therapist, licensed counselor, or licensed psychologist. They are trained to help unpack your feelings and help you cope dealing with your loss of your loved one. I don't like to say get over because you'll never get over losing someone to suicide, but they can teach you and provide you tools and give you a roadmap to learn to cope with losing someone to suicide. A loved one's suicide can trigger intense emotions. For an example, shock, disbelief, and emotional numbness may set in. You may think that your loved one's suicide couldn't possibly be real. You can have anger. You may be angry with your loved one for abandoning you or leaving you with a legacy of grief, or angry with yourself or others for missing clues about suicidal intentions. You may feel guilty. You may replay in your mind what if only scenarios in your mind, blaming yourself and your loved one's death. You may have despair. You may be crippled with sadness, loneliness, helplessness, hopelessness, depression. You may have a physical collapse or even consider suicide yourself because of the loss, the devastation that you're feeling. You may have confusion. Many people often try to make sense out of the death or try to understand why their loved ones took their life. But sometimes you likely will always have some unanswered questions. You may have feelings of rejection. You may wonder why your relationship wasn't enough to keep your loved one from dying by suicide. So people, I would like to share, as I said, I wanted to be transparent and as vulnerable and as raw as possible, to use my own testimony to encourage you. I myself am a suicide survivor, and I want you to know that when I attempted to die by suicide, I was ill, filled with grief, despair. I wasn't myself, debilitating depression. So no, your loved one, they don't want to transfer the pain to you. They want their own pain to end. And having a mental illness distorts your thinking. It prevents you from thinking logical because you have all these thoughts rushing through your mind, negative thoughts saying you can't make it, that you lost hope, you're a burden to your family. All these thoughts that are powerful, they're draining, and they prevent us from making a logical decision, and we make a irrational decision to lose hope. By no means am I trying to normalize suicide, because I am a mental health advocate. I created the page to help prevent suicides, to encourage people no longer to suffer in silence, that you're not alone, that there are a team of specialists that are trained to help you identify your areas that you're struggling. They can help unpack your traumas. They can help you learn to build boundaries, know your triggers. They're all professionals that are here to help you cope with your mental health. So by no means am I trying to normalize it, but I've been often asked, why did you do that? And my answer is, I was ill. I could not make a rational decision from being ill. It's no different from someone that has cancer and they've died by cancer. Mental illness is a mood disorder. It is a chemical imbalance in your brain, which prevents you from making logical decisions, and it can help make you lose hope and want to kill yourself. So people, I encourage you not to no longer blame the person who you've lost through suicide. Forgive them. No, they did not want to transfer the pain. They wanted the pain to end for themselves. They wanted to live. They just didn't know how to live anymore with the condition that they have. So please, I encourage you not to blame yourself, to lift your guilt. It's not your fault. It's not their fault. They've lost hope because they was ill with a mental illness, and it's a disorder of the brain. So people, I just again want to encourage you, to inspire you, to use my own testimony to turn my pain into purpose, so we can start tearing down the stigma regarding suicide and be open. And if you've lost someone to suicide, to celebrate their lives. I know it's difficult. You still have the whys, and is it my fault? No, it's not your fault. They were ill. I was ill. So adopt healthy coping strategies. The aftermath of a loved one's suicide can be physically and emotionally exhausting. As you work through your grief, be careful and protect your mental health and well-being, because it is devastating and it can cause you to lose hope and have depression. So learn to reach out to loved ones and the team of specialists that can help you unpack the feelings and learn coping strategies to deal with the loss of your loved ones. Keep in touch. Reach out to loved ones, friends, and spiritual leaders for comfort and understanding and healing. Surround yourself with people who are willing to listen when you need to talk and not be judgmental, as well as those who will simply offer a shoulder to lean on when you rather just be silent, because sometimes you don't want to talk. You just want to be silent. Grieve in your own way. Don't suppress your feelings. Grieve. Do what is right for you, not necessarily what someone else would do. There's no single right way to grieve. If you find it too painful to visit the loved one's gravesite or share details of your loved one's death, wait until you are ready. Because one day you will learn to cope. You won't get over. I don't like to use the word get over, but learn to cope with their life and learn to celebrate their life and the times that you guys have experienced joy and all the memories that you made. Losing someone can bring on painful memories and reminders, such as anniversaries, holidays like today, Mother's Day, and other special occasions can be painful reminders of your loved one's suicide. Don't blame yourself for being sad or mournful, because that was your loved one. And it's our natural instinct to be sad because you miss them and you love them so much and you wish that they could have stayed. Don't rush yourself. Losing someone to suicide is a tremendous blow. It is devastating, debilitating. And healing must occur at its own pace. Don't be hurried by anyone else's expectation, saying, oh, well, you should have been over this in a week. Everyone has their own healing time. So don't be rushed by someone else's expectation. Some days will be better than others, even years after the suicide. And that's okay, because healing doesn't happen in a straight line. It takes time for healing. But you can learn to heal. You can reach out to friends and family and heal with them. You can celebrate your loved one's life. That can be a healing. Reach out to the therapist. And also consider joining a grief support group for families affected by suicide. Because sometimes when you gather together with other families that are affected, you begin to rely on each other and learn tools and techniques on how to cope with your grief. Reach out to those mental health therapists where they can provide you with a roadmap and coping strategies to help you deal with your grief. Sharing your stories with others who are experiencing the same type of grief may help you find a sense of purpose. Also, they have suicide prevention walks that you can walk along with several people that have experienced life such as yourself, and that can offer you some type of support. You can start a fundraiser or a nonprofit organization, charities, to remember and honor your loved one's legacy. But I encourage you to please don't blame yourself. Learn to forgive yourself and your loved ones, because it wasn't their fault. They had an illness of the brain. I'd like to leave you with a poem today. It says, a letter from heaven. When tomorrow starts without me and I'm not there to see, if the sun should rise and find your eyes all filled with tears for me, I wish so much you wouldn't cry the way you did today while thinking of the many things we didn't get to say. I know how much you love me as much as I love you. And each time you think of me, I know you'll miss me too. When tomorrow starts without me, don't think we're far apart. For every time you think of me, I'm right here in your heart. They're right in your heart. And I know how devastating it must be. But you can learn to cope, remember their legacy, their life, and all the memories that you did have and you shared together. So again, I hope I encourage you and inspire you and help you to cope with your grief and to forgive yourself and don't blame yourself. I thank you for listening to my channel. Again, it is my goal and my desire just to use my platform to help save lives, to encourage you, and to unpack mental health, mental illness, and let's start breaking down those walls, those stigmas associated to mental health, so we can begin to heal the nation. I thank you for listening to me. May God bless you. May He keep you. And until the next time.